The fluorescent lights of Hamilton Financial Tower cast harsh shadows across the empty 47th floor as James Parker pushes his cleaning cart down the marble corridor. The wheels squeak in rhythm with his tired footsteps. His daughter Emma sleeps at home, her inhaler on the nightstand, next to a stack of medical bills that grows thicker each week. He works these midnight shifts, so his insurance will cover her medications. The building breathes around him, elevators humming, security cameras tracking his movements, the distant whisper of traffic 47 stories below. James pauses at the executive suite, checking his watch. 11:43 p.m. Catherine Hamilton's office light still glows behind frosted glass. The CEO works late most nights, and he's glimpsed her 7-year-old daughter Sophie curled on the leather couch, sleeping while her mother handles international calls. Something about that little girl always tugs at his chest. The way she flinches at sudden sounds, how she hasn't spoken a word in the 6 months since he started this job. His trained eye recognizes trauma patterns even from a distance. Tonight feels different. The air carries tension like electricity before a storm. Hey there, friend. If you're enjoying this story of second chances and hidden heroes, stick around. Because what happens next will completely change how you see people who work in the shadows. Sometimes, the most extraordinary help comes from the most unexpected places. Let's dive back in. The medical bills spread across James's tiny kitchen table tell a story of desperation. $2,800 for Emma's emergency room visit last week. Another $1,500 for specialist consultations. His monthly salary of $1,200 barely covers rent and groceries. He stares at the collection notices, remembering when he earned 6 figures as Boston's most sought-after child psychologist. Before the whistleblowing incident destroyed his career, before his wife died in the aftermath, before he fled to New York with 8-year-old Emma and started over as nobody. His phone buzzes with a text from Emma's school nurse. Please remember to send backup inhaler tomorrow. Emma had mild episode during recess. James closes his eyes, guilt washing over him like cold water. He can't afford a backup inhaler this month. The irony cuts deep. He once helped traumatized children breathe through their worst moments, and now he can't even ensure his own daughter has the medicine she needs. The building's emergency alarm pierces the silence. 45th floor, medical emergency. James abandons his cart and runs for the stairwell, muscle memory from his medical training overriding exhaustion. Someone needs help, and helping people is coded into his DNA. Sophie Hamilton sits on her mother's office carpet, knees drawn to her chest, gasping for air that won't come. Her small body shakes as panic floods her nervous system. Catherine kneels beside her daughter, phone pressed to her ear as she speaks rapidly to the 911 operator. My daughter can't breathe. We're on the 45th floor of Hamilton Financial Tower. Please hurry. The attack started during Catherine's video conference with Tokyo investors. Sophie woke from her couch nap, screaming about twisted metal and broken glass, reliving the car accident that shattered her world 11 months ago. Now the 7-year-old hyperventilates, while Catherine feels utterly helpless. Every breath sounds like Sophie is drowning in invisible water. James appears in the doorway, taking in the scene with professional assessment. He recognizes the symptoms immediately, not asthma or allergic reaction, but severe PTSD breathing crisis triggered by flashback trauma. His child psychology training kicks in as he approaches slowly, voice gentle and calm. Hey there, sweetheart. I bet breathing feels really scary right now. Catherine looks up sharply, confusion and fear flickering across her face. Who is this janitor? And why is he talking to her daughter like he knows what's wrong? Sophie, my name is James. I have a little girl too, and sometimes breathing gets hard for her. He crouches several feet away, giving the child space while projecting calm authority. Can you see that teddy bear on your mom's desk? Let's pretend we're helping him breathe nice and slow." Sophie's panicked eyes find the stuffed animal, her breathing still ragged. James continues in his therapeutic voice, the one that once calmed hundreds of traumatized children. "Teddy is scared too, just like you. But we can teach him how to make his breathing feel safe again. Can you help me show Teddy how to breathe like we're blowing soap bubbles?" Catherine watches this strange interaction with growing alarm. Her daughter hasn't responded to anyone except family since the accident. Yet this mysterious janitor speaks with unusual authority about breathing and trauma. Something feels wrong about the situation. Why would a cleaning person know therapeutic techniques? And why is he alone with her daughter at midnight? "In through your nose like you're smelling flowers," James continues, demonstrating the breathing pattern. "Hold it for 3 counts, like you're making a wish. Then out through your mouth, like you're blowing dandelion seeds." Sophie's breathing begins to slow slightly, her body responding to the structured guidance. James maintains careful distance while projecting safety through his voice and posture. "That's perfect, Sophie. You're helping Teddy feel so much better." James pulls a small toy from his cleaning supplies, a miniature stethoscope he carries for Emma. "Should we check if Teddy's heart is feeling calmer now?" He places the toy stethoscope on the stuffed animal, making gentle listening sounds. Sophie's breathing continues to stabilize as she focuses on the playful medical examination. Catherine's mind races with protective instincts and growing suspicion. This man knows her daughter's name, carries children's toys, and speaks with the confidence of someone trained in child psychology. From her perspective, a male stranger has somehow gained intimate knowledge about her traumatized daughter. The implications terrify her. "Where did you learn to do that?" Catherine demands, her voice sharp with maternal protection. "How do you know my daughter's name?" James looks up, suddenly aware of how the situation might appear. He's been so focused on helping Sophie that he hasn't considered Catherine's perspective. "Ma'am, I just wanted to help. Your daughter was having a breathing crisis, and I have some experience with..." "Experience with what exactly?" Catherine's voice rises, causing Sophie to tense again. "Why are you here alone with my daughter? Why do you know therapeutic techniques?" The paramedics arrive as Sophie's breathing returns to normal, but Catherine's suspicions have crystallized into conviction. She watches James step back from her daughter, noting his guilty expression and evasive answers. To her protective mother's eye, everything looks wrong. The way he appeared so quickly, his unusual knowledge, the toys in his cleaning supplies. She's read too many stories about predators who target vulnerable children. "Ma'am, your daughter seems stable now," the lead paramedic reports after examining Sophie. "Her vitals are normal, breathing clear. Looks like someone here knew exactly what to do for a panic attack." Catherine's blood runs cold. How would a janitor know panic attack protocols? She pulls the paramedic aside, speaking in urgent whispers. "That man was alone with my daughter when I found them. He seemed to know things about her condition, had toys in his equipment. Something isn't right." James overhears fragments of the conversation, realizes how badly he's miscalculated. His instinct to help has placed him in an impossible position. He approaches Catherine cautiously. "Mrs. Hamilton, I understand your concerns, but I was only trying to help your daughter breathe. I have a daughter with breathing problems too, so I recognized the signs." "How do you know my name?" Catherine's voice carries ice and accusation. "How do you know anything about my daughter? Security!" 2 security guards enter the office as Catherine continues. "This man was touching my daughter, talking to her like he knew her. He appeared here in the middle of the night with children's toys and medical knowledge. I want him removed from the building immediately." James feels his world crumbling as the security guards approach. He raises his hands in surrender, understanding completely why Catherine fears him. "Mrs. Hamilton, I work here nights. I clean your building. Your daughter was having a medical emergency, and I have some basic first aid training. That's all. Basic first aid doesn't include child psychology techniques, Catherine snaps, her protective instincts overriding rational thought. Guards, escort him out and call the police. I want him investigated for attempted assault on a minor. The words hit James like physical blows. He looks at Sophie, who watches the confrontation with wide, frightened eyes. Sophie? Sweetheart, you're going to be okay. Your mama loves you very much, and the doctors will help you feel better. His voice remains gentle despite his devastation. Even facing false accusations, his priority is the child's emotional well-being. Catherine interprets his continued focus on Sophie as further evidence of inappropriate interest. She pulls her daughter closer, shielding her from the man she now views as a predator. Don't talk to her. Don't look at her. Guards, get him out of here now. As security escorts James toward the elevator, he turns back once. Mrs. Hamilton, I understand why you're scared. Any good mother would protect her child. But please, get Sophie help for her breathing episodes. They're not asthma attacks. The elevator doors close on his final words, leaving Catherine holding Sophie as the little girl begins crying again. Not from breathing difficulty this time, but from the emotional chaos surrounding her. 3 weeks pass before Catherine allows herself to review the security footage. Her initial investigation found no evidence of criminal behavior, but her protective instincts demanded thorough scrutiny. The video shows James Parker, 34, working his custodial shift with methodical precision. He's cleaned this building for 8 months, always professional, never lingering near occupied offices. The footage from that night tells a different story than her memory. James responded to the medical alarm immediately, assessed the situation from the doorway before approaching, maintained appropriate distance while helping Sophie breathe. His body language shows concern and professional competence, not predatory behavior. Still, Catherine can't shake her unease about his unusual knowledge. Her private investigator delivers a preliminary report. James Parker, former resident of Boston, single father to 8-year-old Emma Parker. No criminal record, no history of complaints or inappropriate behavior. He lost his previous job under unclear circumstances approximately 2 years ago. Moved to New York shortly after his wife's death. The report raises more questions than answers. Why would someone relocate across states to work as a janitor? What unclear circumstances surrounded his previous employment? Catherine's protective instincts tell her to dig deeper, even as the rational part of her mind acknowledges that James saved Sophie's life that night. Sophie hasn't spoken about the incident, but her nightmares have worsened. She wakes gasping for air 3 or 4 times each week, and no pediatrician has provided effective treatment. Catherine feels helpless watching her daughter suffer, knowing that whatever triggered these episodes remains unaddressed. Traditional medicine offers no solutions for trauma-induced breathing crises. James stocks shelves at Murphy's Corner Market, the only job he could find after being terminated from Hamilton Financial. His new employer doesn't run background checks, and the $12 hourly wage barely covers Emma's basic needs. The medical bills pile higher while his income drops, creating a financial death spiral. He's calculated that they have perhaps 6 weeks before eviction becomes inevitable. Emma sits at their kitchen table, struggling with homework while her breathing grows labored. The backup inhaler he couldn't afford might have prevented this episode. "Daddy, why did you stop working at the tall building?" she asks between careful breaths. "I liked hearing about the lady who works with numbers." James forces a smile while checking Emma's pulse and respiratory rate. His medical training makes him acutely aware of her declining condition. "Sometimes grown-ups have misunderstandings, sweetheart. The deep honesty ain't so, sweetheart. But Daddy found a new job, and we're going to be just fine." The lie tastes bitter. They're not fine, and Emma's condition requires specialist care they can no longer afford. James stares at his phone, considering desperate measures. Maybe his former colleague Dr. Richards would provide emergency treatment for Emma, despite the professional scandal that destroyed James's career. Children shouldn't suffer for their parents' mistakes. His phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. "Mr. Parker, this is Catherine Hamilton. I need to speak with you about my daughter. Can we meet?" James stares at the message, wondering if this is another legal threat. Catherine had been clear about wanting him investigated and prosecuted. But something in the formal tone suggests desperation rather than accusation. Maybe Sophie's condition has worsened, and Catherine needs information about that night. Catherine sits in her Mercedes outside Murphy's Corner Market, watching James Parker stock canned goods with methodical efficiency. The private investigator's expanded report lies open on her passenger seat, its contents having shattered her assumptions about the man she accused of targeting her daughter. James Michael Parker, age 34, former chief of pediatric psychology at Boston Children's Hospital, specialized in childhood trauma and PTSD treatment. Lost medical license following ethical violation. Reported suspected child abuse by prominent Boston family. Testified against parents in court proceedings. Charges against family dropped due to insufficient evidence. But Parker faced retaliation from hospital board, with financial ties to accused family. The report continues with devastating clarity. Parker's wife, Sarah, died in car accident 6 months after his license suspension. Financial stress and media scrutiny cited as contributing factors to her mental health decline. Parker relocated to New York with daughter Emma, who suffers from severe asthma. Unable to practice psychology without license, took custodial work to maintain health insurance coverage. Catherine's hands shake as she reads the final paragraphs. Emma Parker, hospitalized 4 times in past year for respiratory emergencies. Family faces potential eviction due to medical debt. James Parker's psychological specialization: childhood PTSD, breathing disorders, and trauma-induced panic attacks. Published 37 papers on pediatric mental health before license suspension. The irony hits her like cold water. She destroyed the career of the one person most qualified to help Sophie, accused of predatory behavior, the very man who specialized in treating children exactly like her daughter. Her protective instincts had catastrophically misfired. Sophie's condition has deteriorated markedly since that night. The breathing episodes occur more frequently, and she's developed selective mutism that worries even the most experienced pediatric psychiatrists. Dr. Martinez, Sophie's current therapist, mentioned just yesterday that few specialists understand trauma-induced breathing disorders in children. He'd recommended seeking consultation with experts who combined psychology and respiratory therapy. Catherine exits her car and enters the market, approaching James at the canned goods section. He looks up with wariness and resignation, clearly expecting another confrontation. "Mr. Parker, I need to talk to you about my daughter, about what really happened that night." James sets down the can he's been pricing, studying Catherine's face for signs of legal entrapment. Her expression shows exhaustion and something that might be regret, but he's learned to be cautious around powerful people who view him as a threat. "Mrs. Hamilton, I told you everything that night. Sophie was having a breathing crisis, and I tried to help using basic first aid techniques." "Please don't lie to me anymore," Catherine says quietly, producing the investigator's report. "I know who you are, Dr. Parker. I know what you used to do for children like my daughter." The formal title hits James like a physical blow. No one has called him doctor in over 2 years, and hearing it from Catherine feels both validating and painful. "That person doesn't exist anymore. I'm just someone who stocks shelves and tries to keep his daughter healthy." "Sophie is getting worse," Catherine continues, her voice cracking slightly. "The breathing episodes happen almost every night now, and she hasn't spoken a word since that evening. Every pediatrician I've consulted says they've never seen anything like her symptoms, They don't understand the connection between her trauma and the breathing problems. James feels the familiar pull of professional duty warring with self-preservation. Helping traumatized children defined his identity for 12 years. But getting involved with the Hamilton family could destroy what little stability he's built for Emma. Mrs. Hamilton, I can't practice psychology anymore. My license was revoked, and I'm not qualified to treat your daughter. But you helped her that night, Catherine insists, stepping closer. In 6 minutes, you did what teams of doctors haven't been able to accomplish. Sophie's breathing normalized because you understood what was really happening to her. The desperation in Catherine's voice triggers every protective instinct James developed during his years treating children. He knows Sophie is suffering from complex PTSD with somatic manifestations, a condition requiring specialized intervention that few practitioners understand. Even if I wanted to help, it would be illegal for me to provide therapy. I could face criminal charges for practicing without a license. Catherine pulls out her phone, showing James a video from last night. Sophie sits on her bedroom floor, gasping for air, while Catherine tries unsuccessfully to calm her using the breathing techniques James demonstrated weeks ago. She's 7 years old, and she's terrified to sleep because she can't breathe. I've taken her to 6 different specialists, and none of them understand what's wrong. James watches the video with professional assessment, noting Sophie's specific breathing pattern and body posture. Her symptoms clearly indicate trauma-triggered respiratory dysregulation, a condition he's treated successfully in dozens of children. She needs specialized therapy for post-traumatic stress disorder. The breathing problems are manifestations of unprocessed trauma from the car accident. That's exactly what Dr. Martinez said, Catherine replies, hope creeping into her voice. He mentioned that only a few specialists in the country understand childhood trauma breathing disorders. He said the best expert he knew was Dr. James Parker, but that he disappeared from practice several years ago. The mention of Dr. Martinez surprises James. Roberto Martinez was a respected colleague at Boston Children's Hospital, one of the few who supported James during the ethical violation hearings. Roberto said that about me, even after everything that happened. He said you were the most gifted child trauma specialist he'd ever worked with, Catherine confirms. He told me that if Dr. James Parker was still practicing, Sophie would be his first referral. When I realized you were the same person, I knew I had to find you. James struggles with conflicting emotions. His professional instincts scream that Sophie needs immediate intervention, but years of legal and financial devastation have taught him to avoid situations that could backfire. Mrs. Hamilton, I appreciate that you've researched my background, but I can't risk getting involved. I have my own daughter to protect. What if we found a way to make it legal? Catherine asks, her business mind already formulating possibilities. What if we could get your license reinstated, or find another way for you to help Sophie within the system? The conversation is interrupted by James's phone ringing, Emma's school nurse calling with the familiar panic that stops his heart. Mr. Parker, Emma's having a severe breathing episode. We've called an ambulance, but you should meet us at St. Mary's emergency room immediately. James's face goes white as he ends the call. Catherine sees his transformation from cautious conversation partner to terrified father in seconds. I have to go. My daughter's in the hospital. I'll drive you, Catherine offers immediately, her own maternal instincts recognizing a parent's crisis. My car's faster than any taxi, and traffic won't be an issue. James hesitates for a moment, then nods. Emma's welfare overrides every other consideration. They rush to Catherine's Mercedes, and she drives with the skill of someone who's navigated New York traffic for years. The trip to St. Mary's Hospital takes 12 minutes instead of the usual 25. In the emergency room, they find 8-year-old Emma on a ventilator, her small body overwhelmed by an asthma attack that spiraled beyond her inhaler's capacity. The attending physician explains that her condition has deteriorated due to inadequate maintenance therapy. Mr. Parker, your daughter needs specialist care and newer medications. Her current treatment plan isn't sufficient for the severity of her condition. James nods numbly, knowing that specialist care costs thousands of dollars they don't have. Emma's insurance covers basic treatment, but cutting-edge asthma therapy requires out-of-pocket expenses that might as well be millions. Doctor, please do whatever she needs. I'll find a way to pay for it. Catherine watches this interaction with growing understanding. James faces the same helpless desperation she feels watching Sophie suffer, except his child's condition threatens her life rather than just her emotional well-being. Mr. Parker, let me cover Emma's medical expenses. It's the least I can do after what happened. I can't accept charity, James replies automatically, his pride warring with Emma's obvious need. I'll figure something out. It's not charity, Catherine insists. It's payment for consultation services. Help me understand what Sophie needs, and I'll ensure Emma gets the best possible care. As Emma stabilizes under intensive treatment, James finds himself explaining Sophie's condition to Catherine in clinical terms. Years of suppressed professional knowledge pour out as he describes the neurological pathways connecting trauma memories to respiratory function. When Sophie experiences flashbacks, her nervous system triggers the same physiological responses she had during the car accident. Her body literally believes it's suffocating again. Catherine listens with the focused intensity she usually reserves for board meetings. James's explanation makes more sense than anything she's heard from conventional physicians. So the breathing problems aren't psychosomatic. They're actual neurological responses to trauma triggers? Exactly, James confirms, his voice gaining confidence as he returns to familiar professional territory. Sophie's brain is protecting her from perceived danger by recreating the survival responses from the original trauma. Standard respiratory treatments won't work because the root cause is psychological, not physiological. How do you treat something like that? Catherine asks. What would you do if Sophie was your patient? James considers the question carefully, knowing that his answer could change everything. I'd use specialized trauma therapy combined with breathing retraining and gradual exposure techniques. It requires months of careful work, but children usually respond better than adults because their neural pathways are more adaptable. Catherine realizes that James's calm, detailed explanation represents hope for Sophie's recovery. This man possesses exactly the knowledge her daughter needs, even though her accusations destroyed his career. James, I need to ask you something, and I want you to know that I understand if you refuse. Would you consider treating Sophie if we could make it legally possible? The question hangs between them as Emma's ventilator hums in the background. James knows that agreeing could restore his sense of purpose, but it also risks everything he's built to protect Emma. Before he can answer, his phone buzzes with another call from an unknown number. The caller ID shows a Boston area code that makes his stomach drop. Dr. Parker? This is Dr. Martinez from Boston Children's Hospital. I believe you know why I'm calling. James answers Dr. Martinez's call with trembling hands, aware that Catherine is listening to every word. His former colleague's voice carries the same warmth he remembers from Boston Children's Hospital. Roberto, how did you get this number? I've been trying to reach you for months, James. I have a case that desperately needs your expertise. Dr. Martinez's voice grows urgent. A 7-year-old girl with post-traumatic breathing episodes that none of our specialists can treat effectively. Her mother mentioned meeting a janitor who helped during a crisis. When she described the intervention techniques, I knew it had to be you. Catherine's eyes widen as she realizes Dr. Martinez is talking about Sophie. The medical community's search for James has been prompted by her own daughter's condition. Roberto, I can't practice anymore. You know what happened to my license. The ethics board is reconsidering your case, Dr. Martinez replies. New evidence has emerged about the family you reported for child abuse. It turns out you were right all along. They're facing federal charges now, and the hospital board wants to make amends for destroying your career unjustly. James feels the floor shift beneath him. 2 years of exile and financial ruin might have been based on a corrupt system protecting wealthy abusers. What kind of new evidence? The FBI investigation uncovered extensive documentation of the abuse you reported. The family used their connections to silence you, but they couldn't hide the truth forever. The hospital's legal team believes your license suspension was improper retaliation. They're prepared to expedite reinstatement proceedings. Catherine watches James process this information, seeing hope and disbelief war across his face. She understands that this phone call represents vindication for a man who sacrificed everything to protect a child. James, take the call in private. I'll sit with Emma while you talk. 20 minutes later, James returns to Emma's bedside with a stunned expression. Catherine has been reading to his daughter from a children's book about brave animals, and Emma seems calmer despite the ventilator. The Ethics Review Board wants to meet with me next week. If Roberto's information is accurate, they could restore my license within 30 days. What does that mean for Sophie? Catherine asks carefully. Would you be willing to treat her if your license is reinstated? James looks at Emma, then at Catherine, weighing his daughter's needs against his professional calling. If I'm legally cleared to practice again, then yes, I'd want to help Sophie. But there's something you need to understand about treating childhood trauma. It requires absolute trust between the family and therapist. I trust you, Catherine says simply. I was wrong to doubt your intentions that night. I see now that you were trying to save my daughter, just like you've devoted your life to saving children like her. Trust takes time to build, James replies, especially after trauma. Sophie will need to feel completely safe before we can make real progress. That means involving you in every session, maintaining transparency about our methods, and moving at her pace rather than forcing breakthrough moments. Catherine nods, understanding that effective therapy requires patience she's never had to develop. Her business world operates on quarterly results and immediate solutions, but healing traumatized children follows different timelines. Whatever Sophie needs, however long it takes, I just want my daughter to feel safe again. Emma stirs on the hospital bed, her breathing improving as the specialized medications take effect. She looks at Catherine with curious eyes, then speaks in a whisper. Daddy, is this the number lady from your tall building? James smiles, stroking Emma's forehead. Yes, sweetheart. This is Mrs. Hamilton. She's been keeping you company while Daddy talked to Dr. Martinez. You have a pretty smile, Emma tells Catherine. Daddy said you work with numbers, but you're nice like the nurses. Catherine feels her heart squeeze as she looks at this brave little girl who resembles Sophie in so many ways. Both children face medical challenges that require ongoing care. Both have single parents who would sacrifice anything for their well-being. Thank you, Emma. Your daddy is a very special person who helps children feel better. 1 week later, James sits across from the Massachusetts State Board of Psychology while his attorney presents evidence of the conspiracy that destroyed his career. Documents recovered from the FBI investigation show systematic intimidation of hospital staff who supported James's abuse report. The board chair, Dr. Patricia Williams, reviews the materials with obvious dismay. Dr. Parker, it appears that your license suspension was the result of external pressure rather than legitimate ethical violations. This board extends its formal apology for the injustice you've suffered. Dr. Williams's voice carries genuine regret. Your license is hereby reinstated with full privileges, and we're prepared to provide documentation supporting your exemplary professional record. James feels 2 years of shame and self-doubt lifting from his shoulders. He's officially Dr. James Parker again, qualified to treat the children who need his specialized expertise. Thank you, Dr. Williams. This means more than you can imagine. The board secretary hands him updated credentials and license documentation. Dr. Parker, we understand you've been approached about treating a case in New York involving childhood trauma breathing disorders. If you choose to establish practice there, we'll provide any necessary referrals or professional endorsements. James calls Catherine from the train back to New York, his voice carrying excitement she's never heard before. It's official. I'm licensed to practice psychology again. If you're still willing, I'd like to begin working with Sophie as soon as possible. She's been asking about the nice man who helped her breathe, Catherine replies. I think some part of her remembers feeling safe with you that night. When can we start? I'll need to establish a proper therapeutic environment. Treating children requires specific safety protocols and appropriate settings. James's professional training reasserts itself as he plans Sophie's treatment. I know a colleague in Manhattan who might allow me to use her office space. We could begin with initial assessment sessions next week. Dr. Sarah Chen's therapy office in Upper Manhattan provides the perfect environment for treating traumatized children. Soft lighting, comfortable furniture, and toys designed to help young patients express difficult emotions. James sits across from Sophie and Catherine, noting how the little girl stays close to her mother while observing him with cautious curiosity. Sophie, do you remember when we met before? James asks gently. You were having trouble breathing, and we practiced together with your teddy bear. Sophie nods but doesn't speak. Her selective mutism has persisted since the car accident, though she communicates through gestures and expressions with remarkable clarity. Catherine squeezes her daughter's hand reassuringly. Dr. James wants to help you feel safer, sweetheart, just like he helps other children who have scary thoughts. I brought some special breathing tools today, James continues, pulling out a colorful pinwheel. This one shows us how our breath can make beautiful things happen. Would you like to try making it spin? Sophie looks at the pinwheel with interest, then at Catherine for permission. When her mother nods encouragingly, Sophie takes a careful breath and blows gently. The pinwheel spins in bright colors, creating a mesmerizing pattern that makes Sophie smile for the first time in weeks. That's perfect, Sophie. You just showed your breath how to make something beautiful instead of scary. James's voice carries the warmth that once made him Boston's most sought-after child therapist. Every time we practice together, we're teaching your body that breathing can feel good and safe. Over the following weeks, Sophie begins to trust James enough to engage in more complex therapeutic activities. Art therapy sessions reveal her fragmented memories of the car accident, while play therapy allows her to process trauma through symbolic representation. Catherine attends every session, learning techniques to support Sophie's healing at home. The breakthrough comes during their 6th session, when Sophie suddenly speaks for the first time in 8 months. Dr. James, why did the car make such loud sounds? Her small voice carries immense courage as she finally verbalizes the core trauma that's been choking her breathing. James maintains calm professionalism despite his excitement at Sophie's progress. Cars sometimes make very loud sounds when they're broken, Sophie. The sounds you heard were scary because they meant something dangerous was happening. But you're safe now, and the sounds can't hurt you anymore. But I hear them when I sleep, Sophie continues, her words tumbling out as months of suppressed communication overflow. And then I can't breathe because the sounds make me remember being stuck and scared. Catherine watches her daughter finally express the terror she's carried alone for months. Tears stream down her face as she realizes how much Sophie has been suffering in silence. Sweetheart, you're so brave for telling us about the scary sounds. Dr. James is going to help you make them less frightening. The sounds live in a special part of your brain called memory, James explains, using age-appropriate language. We're going to teach that part of your brain new things about being safe, so the sounds don't have to make you scared anymore. Sophie nods with the serious attention children give to important adult explanations. Will you teach my brain how to make the sounds go away? I'll teach you how to make the sounds smaller and quieter, James promises. They might not disappear completely, but they won't be able to make you feel like you can't breathe. Your body will remember how to feel safe, even when your memory brain gets confused. Catherine's father, William Hamilton, discovers her arrangement with James through his network of business contacts. The old man's fury radiates through his phone call as Catherine sits in her office reviewing quarterly reports. What the hell are you thinking, bringing that disgraced doctor around my granddaughter? Sophie is getting better, Dad. Dr. Parker is the first therapist who's actually helped her make progress. Catherine keeps her voice steady despite her father's rage. His techniques are working where everyone else failed. I don't care if he cures cancer, William snarls. That man is a threat to our family's reputation. I've already made calls to ensure his license gets revoked again. No daughter of mine will associate with professional failures and troublemakers. Catherine feels cold dread settle in her stomach. Her father's connections span medical boards, legal systems, and regulatory agencies throughout the Northeast. Dad, you can't destroy an innocent man's career just because you disapprove of my decisions. Sophie needs his help. Watch me, William replies, with the casual cruelty that built his business empire. I destroyed him once for getting too close to the wrong family, and I'll do it again. That bleeding heart idealist thinks he can challenge powerful people without consequences. He's about to learn otherwise. The line goes dead, leaving Catherine staring at her phone in horror. Her father's words suggest he was involved in James's original career destruction, which means the Hamilton family bears responsibility for years of suffering. She immediately calls James to warn him about the threat. Catherine, there's something you need to know, James says when he answers. I just received a call from the ethics board. Someone has filed new complaints against me, claiming I'm practicing therapy without proper oversight. They're threatening emergency license suspension pending investigation. My father is behind this, Catherine admits, her voice heavy with guilt and determination. He told me he destroyed your career once before and plans to do it again. I think our family was connected to the original abuse case that got you in trouble. James feels the familiar sensation of powerful forces aligning against him. Catherine, maybe we should stop Sophie's treatment until this gets resolved. I can't risk practicing illegally, and I won't let you and Sophie get caught in the crossfire. No, Catherine says firmly. I'm not letting my father destroy you again, and I'm not letting Sophie lose the only person who can help her heal. We're going to fight this, and we're going to win. Catherine's investigation into her father's business dealings reveals the disturbing truth. The wealthy family James reported for child abuse had extensive financial ties to Hamilton Industries, including a joint venture worth $50 million. When James threatened their reputation with abuse allegations, William Hamilton used his influence to silence him rather than risk the lucrative partnership. The Riverside Development Project, Catherine murmurs as she reviews confidential files from her father's private safe. A luxury resort chain owned by the Blackwood family. Dad's company provided financing, and when Dr. Parker accused them of abusing their son, Dad chose money over justice. The files contain correspondence between William Hamilton and hospital board members, explicitly discussing ways to discredit James and revoke his license. Potential troublemaker, bleeding heart liberal, and threat to business interests appear throughout the documents. Catherine realizes that James lost everything because her father prioritized profit over protecting children. Her phone rings, Dr. Martinez calling with urgent news. Catherine, someone's filed formal complaints claiming James is practicing without proper supervision. The board is meeting tomorrow to consider emergency suspension. They're moving faster than normal, which suggests political pressure. How much time do we have? Catherine asks, her mind already formulating battle plans. What evidence would prove the complaints are fraudulent? We need documentation showing the therapy is legitimate and properly supervised, Dr. Martinez replies. But more importantly, we need to prove that the complaints are retaliation rather than genuine ethical concerns. If you have any evidence of conspiracy or corruption, now's the time to present it. Catherine looks at the files spread across her desk, containing years of her father's unethical business practices. Roberto, I have exactly what we need. Can you arrange an emergency hearing before the board makes their decision? The Massachusetts State Board of Psychology convenes an emergency session as Catherine presents evidence of William Hamilton's conspiracy against James. Board members review documents showing systematic retaliation for ethical whistleblowing, including recorded phone conversations where her father discusses destroying James's career. This evidence suggests a pattern of obstruction designed to silence Dr. Parker's legitimate reporting of child abuse, Dr. Williams states, after reviewing the materials. The current complaints appear to be continuation of this same retaliatory campaign. James sits beside Catherine, watching her sacrifice her relationship with her father to protect his career. The woman who once accused him of predatory behavior now risks everything to ensure he can continue helping children. Catherine, you don't have to do this. Exposing your father's corruption will destroy your family relationships. Sophie is my family, Catherine replies firmly, and you're helping her heal. That's more important than protecting a man who chose money over children's safety. The board deliberates for 2 hours before Dr. Williams announces their decision. The complaints against Dr. Parker are dismissed as frivolous and retaliatory. His license remains in full standing. Furthermore, this board commends Dr. Parker for his ethical courage and Dr. Hamilton for her integrity in exposing corruption. William Hamilton storms out of the hearing room, his face purple with rage. You've destroyed this family for some nobody janitor and his liberal bleeding heart nonsense. Don't expect support from Hamilton Industries ever again. Catherine watches her father leave, feeling sadness but no regret. Some things matter more than money or family loyalty, Dad. I hope someday you'll understand that protecting children is one of them. 6 months later, James operates a thriving pediatric psychology practice specializing in childhood trauma. His client list includes referrals from Dr. Martinez and other colleagues who recognize his unique expertise. Sophie has made remarkable progress, speaking freely and sleeping through the night without breathing episodes. Her laughter fills James's office during their final session. Dr. James, will you still be my friend, even though I don't need to practice breathing anymore? Sophie asks, while packing up her art therapy materials. I want to show my friends how you taught me to make the scary sounds smaller. I'll always be your friend, Sophie, James promises. And if the scary sounds ever get loud again, you know how to make them quiet. You're one of the bravest kids I've ever met. Catherine watches this interaction with profound gratitude. Her daughter has transformed from a silent, terrified child into a confident 7-year-old who sleeps peacefully and speaks with enthusiasm about her future. Dr. Parker, I can never thank you enough for giving me my daughter back. You gave me my life back, James replies. Your courage to fight your father's corruption allowed me to practice psychology again. Sophie's recovery wouldn't have been possible without your willingness to prioritize her well-being over everything else. Emma enters the office, her breathing clear and strong thanks to the specialized asthma treatment Catherine insisted on funding. The 8-year-old has become fast friends with Sophie during family therapy sessions. Daddy, can Sophie come to our apartment for dinner? I want to show her my science project about how lungs work. Sophie looks at Catherine hopefully. Mama, can we have dinner with Dr. James and Emma? please?" Catherine exchanges a meaningful look with James over their daughters' heads. Months of working together to heal Sophie has revealed their compatibility as partners and parents. "I think that sounds like a wonderful idea, sweetheart." 1 year later, James and Catherine stand before a small gathering of friends and colleagues, exchanging wedding vows in Dr. Martinez's garden. Sophie and Emma serve as flower girls, their friendship having blossomed into sisterhood through shared challenges and healing. The ceremony emphasizes family unity rather than traditional romance. Their love grew from mutual respect and shared commitment to their children's well-being. "James, you taught me that true strength comes from helping others, not from wielding power over them," Catherine says during her vows. "You showed me what it means to fight for justice, even when the cost seems unbearable. Catherine, you gave me the courage to reclaim my purpose and the family I never knew I needed," James responds. "Together, we've proven that love can heal the deepest wounds and create new beginnings from broken dreams." Sophie steps forward during the ring exchange, speaking with the confidence that therapy has restored. "I want Dr. James to be my daddy, and I want Emma to be my sister, forever and always." Emma nods enthusiastically. "And I want Miss Catherine to be my mama, because she makes Daddy smile like he did before Mama went to heaven." The wedding reception takes place in Catherine's renovated penthouse, transformed from a cold business showcase into a warm family home. Photos of James's therapeutic work with children line the walls alongside Catherine's community service awards. Their combined life reflects shared values of service, healing, and putting children's needs first. Sunday morning sunlight streams through the kitchen windows as James prepares pancakes, while Catherine helps both girls with their joint science project about helping other kids with breathing problems. Sophie draws diagrams explaining how therapy made her scared thoughts smaller, while Emma illustrates the connection between emotions and physical symptoms. "Daddy James makes the best pancakes in the whole world," Sophie declares, having fully embraced her expanded family. "And Mama Catherine knows everything about making businesses help people instead of just making money." Catherine's Foundation for Childhood Trauma Treatment has grown into a national organization, providing funding for specialized therapy and training programs. James serves as clinical director while maintaining his private practice. Their partnership combines her business acumen with his therapeutic expertise to create systemic change in how society treats traumatized children. "What should we call our presentation?" Emma asks, looking at their collaborative artwork. "We want other kids to know that scary feelings can get better with the right help." Sophie considers this seriously. "How about breathing hope? Because that's what Dr. James taught me to do. Breathe hope instead of fear." James and Catherine exchange loving looks over their daughters' heads, marveling at how crisis and misunderstanding transformed into healing and family. Their relationship proves that second chances can create stronger foundations than original attempts. "I love how our girls think," James murmurs. "They're going to change the world." "They already changed ours," Catherine replies, squeezing his hand while watching Sophie and Emma work together with the easy cooperation of true sisters. Sometimes, the best families are the ones we choose to create from love rather than obligation. The morning continues with laughter and pancakes, homework help and planning for their foundation's upcoming Children's Mental Health Conference. Their home fills with the sound of two little girls who've learned to breathe freely, two parents who've found purpose in healing others, and the quiet joy of a family built on mutual rescue and unconditional love. 3 weeks later, James stands before an audience of 500 mental health professionals at the Hamilton Parker Foundation's annual conference. His keynote speech about breakthrough treatments for childhood trauma draws standing ovations from colleagues who once shunned him. Catherine watches from the front row, her heart swelling with pride as her husband receives the recognition he deserves after years of professional exile. Trauma doesn't define our children's futures, James tells the audience, but our response to their trauma absolutely shapes their capacity for healing. Every child deserves advocates who will fight systems that prioritize convenience over compassion, adults who will challenge assumptions that dismiss their pain as attention-seeking behavior. The conference showcases innovative programs funded by their foundation, mobile therapy units that bring specialized care to underserved communities, training scholarships for therapists from diverse backgrounds, and research initiatives investigating the connection between childhood trauma and long-term health outcomes. Catherine's business expertise has transformed James's clinical insights into systemic change affecting thousands of families. During the lunch break, Dr. Martinez approaches their table with obvious emotion. "James, Catherine, what you've built here represents everything we dreamed about during those dark days in Boston. You've turned personal tragedy into hope for countless children." Sophie and Emma distribute informational packets to conference attendees, their confidence and enthusiasm charming hardened professionals who rarely see children thriving after severe trauma. Both girls speak eloquently about their experiences, becoming living testimonials to the power of proper therapeutic intervention. "My sister Sophie used to be scared of her own breathing," Emma tells a group of pediatric nurses. "But Daddy James taught her that feelings can't actually hurt her body, and now she helps other kids learn the same thing." Sophie nods seriously. "Dr. James says trauma is like a splinter in your feelings. It hurts really bad until someone gentle helps you take it out safely. Then you can heal and grow stronger where it used to be." That evening, their family drives through the city where James once cleaned floors for survival wages. Emma points out Hamilton Financial Tower, where her father saved Sophie's life, transforming both their destinies through a single act of professional courage. The building's lights twinkle 47 stories above them, no longer representing shame and desperation, but rather the miraculous intersection of need and expertise. "Daddy, do you ever miss working in the tall building?" Emma asks from the back seat. "I know it was hard, but that's where you met our family." James considers this thoughtfully. "Sometimes, the hardest times in our lives prepare us for the most important work we'll ever do. Cleaning that building taught me humility. Meeting your sister and Mama Catherine taught me that second chances can be more beautiful than first attempts." Catherine reaches over to squeeze his hand. "I used to think success meant controlling everything from the top floor of that tower. Now I know it means building something meaningful from wherever you start, even if it's the basement." Their destination is a community center in Brooklyn, where James volunteers one evening each month, providing free therapy sessions for families who can't afford private treatment. Tonight's session includes 3 children whose breathing difficulties mirror Sophie's original symptoms. The work exhausts him emotionally, but fills a spiritual need that private practice alone cannot satisfy. Sophie and Emma have become James's unofficial assistants during these community sessions. They demonstrate breathing techniques for younger children and share their artwork depicting emotional healing journeys. Their presence normalizes therapy for kids who view psychologists with suspicion or fear. Peer examples often succeed where adult expertise fails. "Remember when you were scared to come here the first time?" Sophie asks a 6-year-old boy whose panic attacks began after witnessing domestic violence. "I was scared too, but Dr. James never rushes you or makes you talk about scary stuff until you're ready." The boy nods solemnly. "My breathing gets stuck when I remember the loud sounds. Does that happen to you too?" "It used to happen every single night," Sophie confirms. "But now, I know how to unstick it myself, and I can teach you the magic words that make your breath feel safe again." The drive home takes them past St. Mary's Hospital, where Emma nearly died from her asthma attack. The emergency room that once represented financial catastrophe now serves as a reminder of Catherine's generosity and their family's resilience. Emma's asthma remains manageable through proper medication and regular monitoring, luxuries that James's custodial salary never could have provided. "Mama Catherine, what's your favorite thing about our family?" Emma asks as they wait at a red light. "I mean, what makes you happiest about how everything worked out?" Catherine glances in the rearview mirror at both girls, then at James. "My favorite thing is watching all of us become braver together. Daddy James teaches us to help other people heal. Sophie shows us that speaking up about scary things makes them smaller. And you remind us that kindness is always the right choice." "What's your favorite thing, Daddy?" Sophie asks. "Besides helping kids with their feelings, I mean." James looks around their car, luxury vehicle purchased with ethical money, filled with his wife and daughters discussing emotional growth rather than financial survival. "My favorite thing is knowing that our family was built by choosing love over fear, truth over convenience, and healing over hiding. We're proof that broken things can become stronger when they're fixed with genuine care." The conversation continues as they reach their neighborhood, tree-lined streets where both girls ride bicycles and attend excellent schools, where neighbors know them as the therapy family who hosts barbecues for other parents dealing with childhood trauma. Their house represents stability that James once thought impossible, not just financial security, but emotional safety for all 4 family members. Later that night, after homework completion and bedtime stories, James and Catherine sit on their bedroom balcony overlooking the city. The view includes Hamilton Financial Tower glowing in the distance, a symbol of how dramatically their lives have changed through mutual rescue and shared purpose. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't found you that night?" Catherine asks. "If Sophie's breathing crisis had occurred when you weren't there to help?" James considers the alternative timeline. "I think we would have found each other eventually. Broken people tend to recognize healing in others, and you were ready to fight for Sophie's well-being no matter what it cost you. Your courage would have led you to the right therapist somehow. But it might not have been you," Catherine points out. "And I might not have learned that real strength comes from admitting you need help rather than pretending you have all the answers." Their conversation is interrupted by Sophie's voice from the hallway. "Mama Catherine, I had the happy dream again." The 7-year-old appears in their doorway, wearing pajamas covered with butterflies, her face glowing with peaceful contentment. "Tell us about the happy dream, sweetheart," Catherine says, opening her arms for Sophie to climb onto the bed. "I love hearing about the good ones." Sophie settles between them with the comfort of a child who knows she's completely safe. "I dreamed that all the scared kids in the world got to meet Dr. James, and he taught them the breathing magic, and their mamas and dadas learned how to make everything feel safer. And in the dream, nobody had to be alone with scary feelings anymore." James feels tears prick his eyes. Sophie's dream represents his deepest professional aspiration, a world where traumatized children receive immediate, effective intervention rather than struggling in silence until their symptoms become unmanageable. "That's a beautiful dream, Sophie," he tells her. "And you know what? Every day we work at the foundation, we're making parts of that dream come true for real kids and real families." Sophie nods seriously. "That's why I want to be a feelings doctor like you when I grow up, so I can help kids who have scary dreams learn how to have happy ones instead." The evening ends with all 4 family members cuddled together in the master bedroom, sharing stories and making plans for weekend adventures. Their happiness radiates from hard-won healing rather than simple luck, making it more precious than any fairy tale ending. Outside their window, the city hums with 8 million stories of struggle and hope. Somewhere in those lights, another child fights for breath while loving parents feel helpless to provide relief. But now, there are resources available, foundations and programs and trained professionals who understand that trauma can be healed rather than simply endured. James and Catherine have transformed their personal crisis into systematic change, proving that individual healing can catalyze community transformation. Their love story serves as evidence that second chances, when built on genuine partnership and shared values, create stronger foundations than perfect first attempts ever could.